hotline. You see the number. Give us a shout right here on the Sports Call. Bob Pompeani, Andrew Fillipponi here tonight. We have some more Antonio Brown stuff we'll get to first. But the Penguins played a game, and a meaningful one tonight. They took on a team that had not lost in 19 games in a row.
Got
at
points
least regulation
in 19.
losses. So they were 15-0-4. But they beat them tonight. They beat them the way they've been winning when they win. And that's Matt Murray playing almost every day now, and he has rediscovered his game. And he looks like the kind of big game goalie that we saw when he won 2 Stanley Cups. Andrew, how significant is that for them?
Matt Murray?
Matt Murray.
I thought Matt Murray, Saturday, the saves he had in Columbus was the best I've seen maybe Matt Murray the entire year. But like everything with Matt Murray, Bob, like there's always a glass half empty part of it for me. And my concern is he's peaking too early because the injury bug is always right around the corner with him. So I was impressed by the way he played tonight. They were rewarded with 2 points. If it's Casey DeSmith in there, I'm not convinced they win this game. But sometimes you got to think about the war and not the battle that's right in front of you. And I just wonder, Bob, if they run the risk here of wearing down Matt Murray over the next few weeks. I wouldn't worry about that with other goaltenders, but we know his durability issues are real.
Yeah, they are, but it's a good sign that he's played all these games in a row, and he seems to be thriving in them. And they need him to be consistent and available throughout the playoffs. And if so, I think they could beat any team in the Eastern Conference. By the way, they move into third.
Even Tampa?
Even Tampa, I do. Because Tampa has to prove that they can win on the biggest stage of all
That's
and get to where they have not gone to since they won a Stanley Cup in 2000.
If Murray gets to the playoffs in one piece, I would trust him more than Vasilevsky in that series.
If you're Tampa, would you even want to play Pittsburgh?
No, that's your reward. You win the President's Trophy, and you've got
round. That's not going to happen, I don't think, because the Penguins should. Although they got a big game with Washington, they also won tonight as they beat Winnipeg, so they have 89 points. Let's start with Mike in Saxonburg. Hey, Mike, welcome to the Sports Call. How are you?
Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Okay, so the end of the day, we didn't lose, we didn't win. What better could we have gotten for the AB thing?
The way it was going, you weren't.
The Bills deal, but he wasn't going to sign off on that.
And that's why he, the one thing I'll say, and I said it earlier and I'll say it again, he operated and played like he was on the episode of Ballers. And he went in there and created everything he wanted. He did whatever he could, and he got away with it. He essentially bullied the NFL and the Steelers into making this available to him. And the Oakland, as you said, Raiders went along right with it, gave him the money the Steelers would not do. That's one thing I know the Steelers were not going to do. They weren't going to give him any more money. He signed a contract. Whatever happened to that, by the way? Signed contracts. They mean anything anymore?
Well, they don't mean anything to the NFL owners either. And that's the problem, is that you have a league where owners don't value the contracts. They cut a guy if there's 5 years on the deal. They'll release him 2 years in if the performance isn't there.
But they get a guarantee. Most of them get guaranteed money, part of the deal, and so that part is guaranteed.
Well, they get signing bonuses.
Are you suggesting that everything should be guaranteed? Because if
why
you
not?
do, you're going to look at baseball, and that's not a good situation to be in. Guaranteed.
Well,
contracts
it isn't for us. It isn't
baseball.
for us because we're in Pittsburgh, but the game is financially it's in as good a shape as it's ever been.
I'm talking about for the league, for the benefit of the league, not just specific cities. You can say that all you want.
Well, let me ask you this question.
I don't like guaranteed contracts anywhere. I think you can guarantee parts of it, like signing bonuses or whatever. The whole thing.
So do you think it's bad for hockey that every contract is guaranteed?
I think it's bad for sports. Yes. If I'm an owner, I wouldn't want to get involved in those contracts.
See, I just think of a contract as you have an agreement, a handshake deal with somebody that if you sign for 5 years, you play for 5 years. And I don't like the idea that the owner is allowed to go back on his word, but the player has no recourse if he outperforms that contract.
Part of the deal is you get your bonus money, whatever it is up front, and that's what you get. And if you, I'm telling you, Andrew, that would lead to. I don't like where it would lead to.
Well, what has it led to in baseball? The haves and have-nots.
Exactly, economic instability, or on the field instability. You don't know who you are, and if you're in a market like Pittsburgh, you can name 7 of them. You don't have a chance realistically every year, and that's my problem.
I think guaranteed contracts are fine if you have a salary cap.
Well, you gotta have a salary cap too. That's not gonna happen though. Howie in Vanport, what's up, Howie?
Hi, Bob.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Do you think Oakland will go after Bell?
Yes. Yes.
Because John Gruden said he's going to build a powerhouse.
Well, what has John Gruden really built over the years? I mean, he won 1 championship, but you can argue that was
Tony Dungy's team.
So
I'll tell you what he has that most coaches, maybe with the exception of Bill Belichick, don't have, and that's the power to tell these players what to do because of his contract. He's got $90 million left on his deal in another 9 years. So he has more money guaranteed to him than Antonio Brown. And that's why I think this arrangement, to me, is a recipe for disaster. You've got Gruden, who is shown to be very temperamental. He'll dump quarterbacks fast. He'll draft the guy and cut him. He exiled Keyshawn Johnson in Tampa Bay 1 year after inheriting him. And we know Antonio Brown's sensitivities and emotions. So if Antonio Brown's winning this trade, Bob, he's getting $30 million. That's the win. But he's not going to lead Oakland to the promised land. Does anybody think right now that this signing elevates them or propels them over Kansas City in the AFC West? They're another 5-11, 6-10 team.
And worse for them is Antonio Brown really doesn't care. He just got his money.
Right.
That's pretty much what he cares about only. Let's go to line 3. That's Tom in Duncansville. Hey, Tom, what's going on?
Hi, Tom.
Hi, Bob and Andrew. Just wanted to say I'm tired of hearing about the Antonio Brown situation. It's hockey season. Just watched a great game in hockey. Tired of hearing about the NFL. I haven't watched an NFL game at all this year.
Well, you'll be in the very small minority, but you're right about the Brown thing. It's finally going to be over, and that's good. And the Steelers, quite frankly, that was it. For them, the win comes that they don't have to deal with this anymore. And you know, Andrew, I had people call and tweet today talking about the Steelers should have kept him around and basically let him sit. Okay, if you want to play that game, go ahead. You continue this problem. The toxicity doesn't go away.
Right.
Who knows what he's liable to do next, and what are you getting out of it, really?
And it turns into Le'Veon Bell, because if you're going to say let him sit, well, if he's under contract, he can show up whenever he wants, right?
Yeah.
You can't just like suspend him indefinitely and pay him to stay away. The rules, the way the CBA is worked out, wouldn't allow for it. So you'd have that hanging over your head. Is he going to show up? Do you want him to come back? How do you feel about Antonio Brown? Ben, can you bury the hatchet with him? Mike Tomlin, what do you make of all the comments Antonio Brown has made about you? And it would have been a dark cloud that hung over this team going into the year. That's why I believe they were left no other option. They were backed into a corner because of Antonio Brown's behavior and because of the way last season went, missing the playoffs. They couldn't get the band back together and keep their fingers crossed for better results next year.
Interesting. Golden Tate on Twitter put out a little note to the Steelers.
I saw that.
Here I am with a little winky
I like
emoji.
him. He's a football player.
I do too.
He's got a little Heinz Ward in him.
Listen, through that and through draft pick, they can come up with a good enough wide receiving core. It may not be as productive as one man getting 15 touchdowns in the 6 years. And listen, Antonio Brown, greatest receiver I think I've seen in Pittsburgh history. I'm not going to change my view on that. It's just that this kind of stuff has to end, and you can't be productive when it continues. And the Steelers have certainly been complicit in allowing it to get to this point. Let's go to Tony in the Hill District. What's up, Tony?
Hey, Tony.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I want to say something. I want to ask you guys a question. I'm not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but I just don't like how Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell showed real disrespect to the Rooney family. Because this is a good that's a good organization, and I think the way they went about things, they really disrespected this organization. And I also want to ask you guys, what made the Steelers trade Gilbert to Arizona? Do you think that's going to help them or?
No, I don't think he was injured a lot, and I think it just was a time for that. And then they feel very good, by the way, about Filer over there.
Yeah.
And Chooks Okorafor eventually. They have other options.
He's played 12 games in 2 years, Bob,
right,
and he was
it.
owed a lot of money. And I think they picked Foster over him. They weren't going to be able to pay all 5 offensive linemen, so they liked their depth at right tackle.
And they have Gerald Hawkins, another young guy who hasn't played all that much, but he's progressing, and we'll see how it goes on that one. By the way, you're right. Not so much with Le'Veon.
I don't think Bell disrespected
No,
the
but
Rooney's,
Antonio Brown he did. It was business decision mostly.
He didn't have a contract.
But Antonio Brown went out of his way to disrespect, slap him in the face. An organization that went out of their way several times to make him the highest paid player. How many times did he need a loan? And they advanced him the money twice.
Yeah. And that was unprecedented.
Unprecedented. They'd never done it, but they did it. And again, the more of that they did, the more he took and took and took, and he kept taking. We're going to take a break. That's what we're going to do. We'll take it right now on Pittsburgh CW.